All right, everybody stand, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Dave will be here shortly. I haven't heard from Kat. Okay, I haven't heard from her today, so. All right, let's get going here. Do we have any? Oh, I call the meeting to order. Thank you, Patty. I saw you looking at your watch. 5:30. I move that we adopt the agenda as mailed.
Second.
Litton,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Kat, would you like to adopt the agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Do we have any delegation? Okay. All right. The treasurer's report. Any questions on that? Did everybody understand Ted's note on there are a few bills that,
Yeah, we're gonna, with it being a day earlier, that gives Pam one less day to get some bills done. And looking at those bills, there's gonna be, our credit card bill is about $6,100, Haskins for fuel and the like, it's $4,900. McCoy's is a technology for about $200. Meyer Lab, $870, that's drug testing, and then Flint Hills Music was $13. So basically, it's going to total $12,156.01. So basically just authority to go ahead and pay those bills and not to exceed $15,000, I think. But that's the rough numbers Pam gave me before she left today. So I have some additional.
I have another question
Yeah.
on these. I'm still kind of confused on all this mileage reimbursement that we're doing. Like this month, there was another $500 and some dollars. I mean, and you mentioned something about Three Lakes.
Yeah, they're employees of the Three Lakes. They transport students from our district, and I think they might start out at Santa Fe Trail and they go do little work. What do I call it?
So
On-site,
On-site work.
yeah.
So we're paying Three Lakes our lump sums, but then we're also paying more for this mileage.
That person drives their own personal car.
I guess your question
With
is, why isn't Three
students.
Lakes paying for it?
Yeah, I mean, my question is what if we're paying this person to drive their own car? I mean, if they're in a wreck, is their insurance covering it, or is our insurance covering it because we're paying them?
The school would take, or Three Lakes or whatever, would take in for the insurance part of that if they're doing a school activity. We would have, their license and all that on file to make sure we could do that, but the school insurance would cover that if it's part of a school activity.
Okay.
And they're using their own vehicle to
Yeah,
do
it
that.
just seems like, with the amount of money we spend, it'd be
Yeah, that's something I can look into,
simpler
Corey.
that I think, we could purchase another vehicle and they drive one of our school vehicles.
They might pick up another student along the way too. They go to all the, everyone who's in the co-op, all the districts that are in the co-op.
So we share the mileage?
I don't know
So
how,
that, I think
Is
that's,
every school
yeah.
getting reimbursed, getting charged mileage, or is
If
this
it's
mileage?
related to if they're related to their students, they should be paying for mileage. If,
the co-op bills us that, so I don't actually see anything. Pam might have a little more record of what they have, I don't.
Oh, so they turn it into the co-op and the co-op bills us for the mileage. Oh.
related to our students. So.
Because it's related to our students, got it,
Yes.
okay.
But I can get more
That's the
detail on it.
understanding.
Okay, if you don't mind, it just seems
Yeah.
like, we're spending a lot on that mileage reimbursement over.
We could be making a car payment.
But what I'm saying, one person might pick up our student, but later in the day, they might take a different student from, I would say just Linden to a different place. So they mark their mileage as they come and go and what students in the vehicle.
I'll get some info on it
Okay.
and get that shared with you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the bills?
What are the last two on there, the Plus Optics? Is that our security stuff we're putting up?
That's the vision screener that Lisa put in for a while back. We had a grant to do that, to cover that, right, Patty? And so, and that would be a printer to do that. So we actually have, we've been waiting on that, so we actually have it on site.
Oh, cool.
So she can do the vision screenings right here.
We ordered that last school year and it
Okay.
just now came.
Oh, that's great.
But I think she got a grant to do that, it's my understanding, so. But it'll be a lot convenient if the teacher's having issues thinking something with a kid. We can, you know, get parent permission to screen them right there with the vision screener, so.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Real quick on that Jones grant, have we already received that money that we paid out for the 55,000, or is that, I mean,
Yeah, we should, yeah, I mean, if we have it, that's what, I mean, we'll pay for it.
okay,
Yeah.
I just didn't know, have we received that, I mean, money yet that,
Oh, the
Paid out.
150,000, yeah, we received that check,
okay.
yes, we did,
alright,
That was so close.
yes, sorry.
All right, any other questions, guys? Yeah. All right. I move that we adopt the minutes of the regular board meeting on February 8th, 2023. Approve the treasurer's report, or let me back up. Petty cash reimbursement, elementary school of $147.54, middle school $31.56, high school $37.32. Payment of the bills to be allowed, the total amount of $325, $380.66, plus no more than $15,000 in additional credit card bills that are coming today for March 7th, 2023, and the February 2023 payroll in the amount of $484,475.58.
Second.
Thanks.
Parsons,
aye,
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
All right. First agenda topic, 23-24 calendar.
Yeah, so last month, we talked a little bit about this. I got some feedback from board members on a survey as well as the teachers prior to. Met with the PDC committee and got some feedback from them. And so from that information, this is the calendar I'm recommending. To pending negotiations, obviously, we still need to go through negotiations, so there could be some changes based on negotiations as we go that. And for instance, right now, this contract has 178 teacher contract days. In the contract, in the master contract, it says 181. So there's some language things that we'll need to work out when we do negotiations to look at that and how that affect. Those 3 days really are the contingent snow days, additional days that were built into like this year's calendar. So they're not on the calendar for next year. Contingent snow days aren't. Those are some things that we'll have to discuss through negotiation. So that's 178 teacher contract days, 171 student contact days, which is one more than we have this year. But in order to balance that out, it was an additional student contact day as part of that. So the start date would be August 15th for teachers and August 18th for students. It'll basically be a week later than the calendar that we have this year. Parent-teacher conferences based on feedback from the survey and from the staff and the board. The 9th week was the leading choice, I guess, to put those in at that time. So those will be on Thursday or Wednesday and Thursday, and then off Friday for fall break in October. So that was the 9th week was for that choice.
And so by doing the 9th week, that moves fall break. Did I see that correctly?
Yes, that would move it.
Moves fall break a week earlier than
Yes.
what it typically is.
Yeah. So it'd be basically so to have that on that Friday off. So after parents.
Versus like the kind of how closer to Halloween is that?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, we can come back to that. I got a
Okay.
question.
All right. And then, the first semester would end December 19th on that Tuesday. It would be a half day with students and a half work day as part of that to end the semester. And then the staff would return on the 3rd, January 3rd for a work day. And then the students would return on the 4th to start the second semester. Spring parent-teacher conferences are same format as this year, that Wednesday after spring break, in the same format where students would not have to come and teachers report at 11 or something for workday and then conferences in the afternoon. Even though moving the calendar back a week, I've kept graduation date on the 12th. We talked about it a little bit. I think it's Mother's Day, but I don't know what the tradition's been in the past for that, but we've left it on the corresponding Sunday compared to this calendar. And then the last day would be May 22nd with the half student contact day, half teacher work day at the end of the day. There are 7 days built into this calendar, snow days, built into the calendar. And again, there are no snow contingent days listed on the calendar as presented. So those are the highlights of that. I'll entertain questions or thoughts.
Okay, so I'm just throwing this out there, so I personally like the 9th week for the parent-teacher conferences, but then I noticed it makes a change to fall break. So I didn't know if people enjoyed having fall break on that last Friday of October, in case there's reduction in any activities, because I think right now where it's at, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, like that next Saturday would still be, I think, like sub-state volleyball, regional cross-country. I think that Friday would still be some football games. So is that really allowing a fall break?
Keeping that
Can we
day.
just move that Friday
Yeah,
down
well,
throughout Halloween if that
the
allows
20th would
more?
be the final high school football game of the season, and then the playoffs start that last week of October.
Would be the 26th, that Thursday, usually.
Yeah.
It's Thursday,
I shouldn't know if that would allow more people to have a 3-day weekend if they need it without having.
So basically, have the conferences still where they're at on the 18th and the 19th half days. They go to school on the 20th, but then have the 27th would be the fall break day. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
Because then on the-
What that does to people.
Because, so the last regular season football game is the 20th would be, and then, you meant
Yep, and then the
cross-country, so tell me about
21st
volleyball and
So the
cross-country.
21st would be regional cross-country and sub-state volleyball. So
So that's already like a pact, so getting a day off is just a day off. They'll still have practice, they'll still have all the
Right.
stuff, and they have a game. That's a good, I like,
I don't know.
I mean, really, it's a long week for the teachers with that,
yeah, then having the
to have
meals.
the evening for, parent-teacher conferences, so that Friday is typically how it goes. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
the feedback I got, to try that Wednesday, Thursday, and have that Friday off. And we understand I don't know if we can call it a fall break, it's technically just a time for the teachers to have off, because it's a long week with parent-teacher conferences, is really what that is, as opposed to a fall break.
Yeah.
That's my thought process behind that.
Yep, that's true.
I guess administration, what are your thoughts?
My opinion is what Mr. Hessong said. I mean, we dealt with this with the teachers, with PDC, with the admin team, and then we went back to some PDC members, and I think that you've done all you can on that calendar, and I feel like it's something that
Yep.
we've all had an input on,
Good.
some way or another.
And, consensus, from the survey, it leaned toward, lengthening the school day and shortening the calendar 5 days. That was not the consensus of the board and the feedback I received. And I think we're, as a team, we don't want to lose 5 days with kids too. So basically we just shifted the calendar, 5 days
I like
that
it.
way and not shorten the school days, so.
I like it.
But again, all pending negotiations, once we go through that process, there might be some changes as we look at this, but it gives us a start and allows them to start planning.
Start planning and get
moving
everything,
forward.
yeah.
Families understanding when school's gonna start and those things, so.
And then right now, do we have 10 snow days built in?
It's 7 days, and there's, I think, 6.5 right now.
Oh, so even right now, we just have the 7.
Yes.
Contingent.
So based on this, next year's calendar would be 7 snow days would be built into the
Without the
calendar.
contingent.
Yeah, without the contingent days, so.
Any other thoughts, questions, team?
Yeah, my main comment is 57% of the teachers were in favor of adding the 15 minutes, but yet we're not choosing to do that.
Mhm.
I mean, I would say 57% is a pretty big consensus out of the responses they got. And I mean, I understand it would shorten our student contact days and contract days, but comparatively to other schools, we would fall right with them. I mean, right now, we're way, I mean, we're at 181, and a lot of the area schools that are around us are 175, 172, 176.
Are you talking about teacher or student? Because we're at
Both, I think he's
171.
talking-
Contracted days. Now, student, if you look at student contact days, we're well above most of the area schools, like 165, 164, 161, you know, and I'm just thinking about
The state average about 178 and a half days for teacher contract days. That puts us right at the average if you look at the state. You know, I know some locally go shorter, but again, I think where we're at is we don't want to lose days with kids. And extending the day would cause us to lose 5 days with the kids, which are important.
but it would still keep us within the parameters of the other area schools. And I think
That's
it would,
better.
and it, I mean, I get the fact, but you're also then looking at, you know, how much you're making a year, extending that by 4 or 5 days. If we shorten the amount of contracted days, they're technically making a little bit more, you know, on a per day period, even though, yeah, they're making the same amount, but.
So the question I would have, if you do that, A, we lose contact days with kids, and then B, the savings we get is losing days in payment to our hourly folks that are on the lowest end of the scale and trying to scrape by as best as possible, and so you're cutting bus drivers and cooks and janitors and
Well, the day itself wouldn't be any shorter.
the number of days, you're cutting 5 days, that's 5 days we don't.
Be a longer
bus
school
drivers.
day,
Yeah.
which would shorten the calendar 5 days
I mean,
to
you're,
meet your.
so you're
our
affecting students and our lowest paid staff.
I mean, I don't think we're necessarily affecting the students based on the other area schools. I mean, Linden is at 165, Santa Fe Trail 164, Burlingame's the closest to us at 170. That's 4 days less. I mean, I don't.
And I can't speak to that today, but if I were to say, you know, our academic results
Yeah.
would be higher compared to those districts, and I believe it's because we see kids longer, more days. That plays a large part into that. I really believe that, Corey. I can give you the data and go through that, but I really believe the more kids the more days you see kids are better for kids academically, socially, and all that part of that.
If that's the case, then why don't we go longer?
Well, that could lead into those conversations too.
I mean,
But it's, you know, the whole traditional part of schooling is that big conversation. What are you willing to do as a district to really, you know, go outside the box? And we're working within the box somewhat. And, you know, there's 15 minutes or things of that nature, number of days. But I truly believe the more days we can have with kids, the better.
well, and I don't disagree. I mean, I think our staff is
Sure, I-
phenomenal. But when they come back and 57% are in favor of it, who am I as a board member to go against what the staff is in favor of?
Sure.
You know, they're the ones that work with the kids day in and day out, week in and week out. I'm not, you know, and if this is something that they're interested in doing or implementing, then I mean, personally, I'm all in favor of it.
I think I would have a different opinion if it was 80%. I mean, it barely crossed the 50-50 mark, in my opinion, and I think I'm just.
I mean,
I don't.
now granted, not everybody responded, you know, 37 responses, but yet 57% of those 37.
No, and I'm not saying that that wasn't majority. Over 50% is majority, I'm not denying that, but I just think based on our administration's opinion as well, in their recommendation, they agreed that
But our staff is asking, or is in favor of it.
But our board sets policy.
I agree,
Yeah.
and I don't personally agree with going against what our staff is.
I don't
is
think
in favor
a
of.
57% is saying we're going against the staff. I'm just saying.
That's fine, that's, individually, that's fine. I personally.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not in favor of the current calendar the way it is,
Yeah, that's fine.
based on how the staff responded in their survey. Because I think we could give in a few student contact days and still remain very relevant amongst the area, so.
I just had a question overall. I mean, how many teachers do we have total, and we only had 37 responses? I think that's terrible. I mean, I'm gonna put it out there. If only 37 of the teachers responded, I mean, why is the response so low? I mean,
I don't know that.
you as admin, did you hear any comments or anything why there was no responses or, I mean, I know we have a lot more than 37 teachers.
I don't know, I think it was put out to everybody, is that right? So
Yeah.
they had the choice whether they wanted to fill it out or whether they didn't. I don't know, I can't attest to everybody who
Yeah.
didn't fill it out of what their reasoning was.
I just didn't
That's their
know if
choice.
there was comments made, hey, we're not gonna fill this out or anything like that.
Nothing was made to me. I think sometimes teachers in their own mind get busy, I mean, and so.
Very busy.
Yeah, so I think that it kind of just maybe gets slid to the wayside and then maybe they forget about it. I mean, maybe that's a reason why, but I mean, I think from my understanding, it was sent out to everybody. So they had the option to.
Do we need a motion on the,
I was just waiting for all the comments, if there were any more comments.
So, I mean, just a question, so we can make a motion for this, but
It'd be pending the.
it's pending, I mean,
Yeah, it might be changed at some point depending on how negotiations goes and things of that nature, so.
And
So-
what can be negotiated, is it just the contact days?
The number of contact days, the length of the day, how the workday's structured can be negotiated, part of that.
All right, anything else? I move that we approve the 2023-24 academic district calendar as presented pending negotiations.
second?
Bellinger.
Aye.
Parsons.
nah.
Linton.
Nay.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-2.
Right. All right, new business, high school and middle school course changes for 23-24.
Okay, so I think Mr. Hessong shared our Google Doc that we had created. The counselors, myself, and some of the teachers, we've just been working on ways that we want to improve the high school. And so we've been kind of taking a look at the courses that we've been offering and kind of how can we make this better. We also surveyed our student population to see kind of what they would be interested in seeing. And again, that's a choice, you know, whether some of the students filled it out or some of the students did it. I can share those results. Those are one of the things that I didn't get a chance to share with Mr. Hessong. But because there were some students that, you know, they just, I don't care. But at least we gave them the opportunity to have some voice. So one of the courses that we would like to add is teaching as a career. We kind of started looking at different pathways that we currently offer and then different pathways that maybe, like if we were one class away, that we could potentially look to offer in the future. And so I feel like in relationship, when it gets to high school, we start asking them to figure out what they want to do. I think it even starts in middle school when they start doing the career cruising and Zello and just trying to find out what they want to do with their lives a little bit. So previously, before, Mr. Blue was teaching an internship class, and I think in his mind or previously they thought it was going to work out a certain way, and kind of what we've realized is that it isn't working out the way that we would ideally like to see it worked out. Students still have the opportunity to job shadow. They can get in contact with the counselors, either Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Camarina, and they can help them connect and still take the time to do job shadow time, which is also what the internship class would be. And then also as a senior, we provide work study for them. So if they do have a job that they go to, they can apply for that and then put in so they can still get that internship, kind of that work study experience. So one of the classes that we would like to see offered is teaching as a career. When we surveyed the students, that was actually, I think it was, let me take a look real quick. It was the third highest that they would like to see offered is some type of like education class. So we actually, Mrs. Harmon kind of helped us out because she's very much into the like career and technical education. And so she said, hey, there's actually a curriculum out there already. So she's gotten with Mr. Ballou, and we kind of looked at his schedule. He's the one who kind of has the most flexibility within his schedule. And so she kind of helped him get started on taking a look at what that course would look like. And so that's one of the things that we would like to be able to offer in place of internship is basically that teaching as a
Do you mean
career.
23, 24 on here, Mrs. Jenkins? It says 24, 25 school year.
Yes, sorry, did I have a typo?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's for this upcoming year.
Well,
Or would it be a year after
so here's
next?
what happens. So with Pathways, what I'm finding out as I'm learning throughout this entire process is that you kind of, and I asked Kathy to come here too in case I'm wrong, but you have to have certain requirements in each pathway. And they have to have certain levels that they have to complete. So we would want to offer the course, but then we won't be able to put the pathway in place for next year because it needed to be submitted by March 1st.
Got it. So
So
the classes won't be
our
until.
pathway, we would try to implement the following year in 24-25. Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's one of our options. I don't know if we need to have an action for each class. I'm not sure how
No,
that.
just as presented.
Okay, gotcha. So our next one is computer programming. So the 7th grade class now, they will have new graduation requirements. And one of those requirements is a computer type programming class. Mr. Stuckey is extremely knowledgeable in computer coding. I think he coded our whole purchase order system for us. So he is like extremely knowledgeable in it. He's been doing a lot of work. I actually even think he's been working on getting his certification in that with K-State and using that curriculum, if you guys have seen it on my board report before. So we would like, he was the first one to say, I'd really like to teach this. So he is very interested in teaching that. And so we would like to put that into place as well because we would like to go ahead and start it next year, even though it's not until the 7th grade class, but just to kind of, so he can get his feet wet and kind of get going on that. So that's one. Kathy and I met with, Allen County, and we would like to offer English Comp 1 and Comp 2. This would primarily be for our senior students, right? But it would be a hybrid course. So right now, students have the option to take it online. But what this would do is we would create a space here for the comp professor. She would be able to come in and do like, I think it was on Mondays and Wednesdays, like every other week.
180 minutes every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
So for some kids that just don't do well online, at least like this is kind of a good way for them to do a little bit online, but then also have that instructor in the classroom working with them. So that's something that we would like to see offered. And then ref reps is something that was brought to me because we are on a shortage of referees, basically.
Don't we know it?
And so there's a lot of students, and that was actually the second highest. They want to see some refereeing classes offered. And so it would be kind of an online, and we would pair it with advanced PE. But the cool thing is that students can choose which ones they want to get licensed in, and they would take the certification, and then they could even, I think when they apply, they can get it at like a cheaper rate to become a referee. But we thought that would be kind of cool to offer for any kids that are interested in it, because it's something that too, if they get done with high school, they could graduate and, you know, ref at the same time while they're going to college or vice versa. So it would kind of be online. We'd have a teacher there who would be helping instruct that, and they could choose. But the cost is like seat licenses. You have to purchase so many licenses. So we'd like to get our pre-enrollment underway before we figure out how many licenses we would need to purchase to see how many kids would be interested in that. Then we have some title changes, Intro to Drawing and Design. So we want to change it from Art 1 to Intro to Drawing and Design, and that just kind of helps create our pathway and make it better. Correct? Am I missing anything on that one?
The state frequently will change course titles and stuff for pathways, so it's really just, we already have a graphic design pathway, and that's the requirement for that.
Oh, perfect.
And then, so then, yeah, I talked about internship and our kind of reasoning for that. And then the instructor change. So because of our changing of our schedule next year to moving seminar to the end of the day, we would really like to be able to have Mrs. Harmon. She's our current teacher for financial literacy right now, which I think is very important, and it is a graduation requirement that students need to have before they graduate. But we want to be able to offer it in person to our tech students. I feel like trying to take financial literacy online is kind of challenging, so Mr. Riemann has graciously let me maybe possibly, with the approval of everyone else,
We're still in negotiations.
keep Mrs. Harmon for, I think it's like, what did we say, red days? Yeah, red days, so I would also have her for fourth block, so she would be in high school fourth block on red days instead of just teaching middle school on both red and white days. Yeah, questions? And then down there, I don't know, these are the current pathways that we offer at Osage City High School. So we have a I don't know, do you guys know this?
I did not know this, so I
Okay.
appreciate
I have never seen this and I have a senior, so
Okay,
this
I
is
just,
great.
I don't wanna like,
very important.
Is it too late for him to pick up? I'm just kidding.
well, okay, so that leads to your question about is why do I need to go to spring conferences? It for me, it is important. It's kind of important for you and your student to be having conversations about what is your
Yep.
pathway. And it's okay if their pathway changes. Sometimes this might be their pathway, college might be their pathway, you know, but I feel like it's important for parents to have those conversations and then to make sure that they are on the right track, whether they change it or not. I mean, I changed my major like 6 times, so, you know, it happens, but I tell kids it's still good to have a plan. So these are just, we offer graphic design pathway, business management, entrepreneurship pathway, marketing pathway, family, consumer, and community services pathway, construction and design pathway, engineering and applied math pathway. And then one of the pathways we'd really like to see offered in the future is the health sciences pathway. We're just getting a little hung up on certain requirements. We thought maybe we could offer intro to healthcare online to be able to help complete that pathway. Mrs. Dunbar said that she would be our lead CTE teacher on it. You have to create goals and submit them to the state. What else do we have to do?
Have an advisory.
You have to have an advisory committee, which she had,
3 reps.
right, she had formed an advisory committee already, but then I think we found out that it didn't go through because, do you remember why? Why it didn't go through? I'll have to look into it, but sometimes they send you a reply back and their explanation isn't very good. So,
I think we can fix it and get it approved though.
yeah, so I'm always on the phone with the State Department asking questions, so,
No, this is great. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. Yep.
any questions?
I do have a question on the reps. Because
Yes.
I imagine that could be interesting for a lot of students to want to take, but maybe take it because they just want to know more but not actually become a rep.
Right.
Do we have any idea if this is a requirement, like if they enter the class, they have to like go through the process to be a rep?
They do not have to, no. So if they take the class and they decide they don't want to be a ref, after they just gain all that knowledge about refereeing, so maybe it'll help them be more sportsmanlike in the future.
I could be very useful.
Yeah,
That-
for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
They can referee first and second grade basketball games, they can
Yeah.
referee flag football, they can
Right.
referee,
For sure.
you know,
Yeah.
I do that with my summer umpires is, you know, new ones only do coach pitch.
right,
Because they're new and they're not ready, so.
yeah,
Yeah, there's ways, I mean, hey, we'll have umpires at T-ball games if I need to.
yeah. So they don't have to be certified if they do take that class. I mean, they don't have to they'll get a certification once they finish it, but they don't have to then take it on and do anything with it if they don't want to.
Mr. Ream, you have anything to add about this changes?
With Mrs. Harmon going 1 block each semester to the high school, we've moved Mr. Blue down to 1 block for each semester for the middle school, and he's gonna be doing a career exploration with the 8th graders, just working on some of those soft skills and looking at some of those careers in the future we're transitioning to Zell next year, and he can work with that. Just been talking about what that looks like, but that would be a required elective for 8th graders along with business essentials, what Mrs. Harmon teaches now going forward to help with that business pathway, so.
On the English comp on Allen County, do we have to cover the instructor or how does that work?
It's a great question.
Allen County pays the instructor.
Yeah, we just provide the space for them.
And then the student just pays the Allen County fees.
Right.
It'd be nice to have that on site.
Yeah.
I would,
Yeah.
yeah, as a parent of an online taker of it right now, I think that would be really good. Okay, so I just wanna make sure I understand so going to this bell schedule, on the schedule, I think you had mentioned this and I just wanna make sure.
Sure.
So every other day, kids will have like a split, so they'll do 45 minutes. So we don't have these going into class, going to lunch and going back, finishing up a class, which is what they have now, right?
No, we will still have that.
Okay.
I mean, I think, yeah.
We couldn't get around it, but I was just
No.
curious, okay.
Nope.
All right, any other questions before we take action on the notes?
Just one more, so if we add all of these classes as options, are we just taking the 2 away, the intern, oh no, it's just the internship that would be removed?
Correct.
Okay, so we still have coverage from a teacher perspective for any combination, or will it come down to, hey, if only one person signed up, like, thank you, but we can't cover that for one kid?
Right. I think too, like going forward, I may be speaking out of turn here, but going forward too, I don't know, I do think it's something to think about. I mean, I'm thankful that Mr. Stuckey is gonna be covering computer programming for now. But we have to remember too that he is currently an English teacher, so.
It's a very fascinating dual thing you've got going on, Mr. Stuckey.
All right, any more? All right, I move that we approve the high school, middle school course changes for the 23-24 school year as presented.
Second.
Bellinger,
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Parsons,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
All right, the high school ELA curriculum. Tell us the fun fact of when it was
Okay.
last updated.
Yeah, fun fact of last update, it was 1990s. So it's been a while. So during our collaboration time, the ELA department, along with Mrs. Renfro, has put in a lot of work doing some research and kind of perusing some new ELA curriculums that would kind of align with what we're looking for. So they kind of ultimately decided that StudySync was a good option for them. We've heard really great things about it. It's got a lot of great digital components. So we just kind of typed up a Google Doc, but it's really cohesive, which is nice. So it's gonna align like 9 through 12th grades, which kind of creates that scope and sequence. So a lot of schools have a curriculum director where they provide, like somebody, that's their job. We don't have that here at Osage City. And so finding a good curriculum that puts that in place is really not only beneficial for the teachers, but it's also beneficial for the students to have that cohesiveness throughout that ELA process. It's very engaging and interactive. There's a lot of different technology components. And so it's compatible with all of our existing systems. It works with ClassLink and Google Classroom, which is what we currently use. They do a really good job at adding new materials and keeping it fresh. And they have like a wide variety of online resources. We haven't purchased a curriculum since the 1990s, so we made sure that this correlated with the state standards, so that way it would stay updated. And then it just kind of gives students and teachers just complete access to almost resources and tools that they would need in order to be successful within the classroom. One of the other things that they really liked is it had differentiated reading materials and assessments for leveling of students, because we know that all students are different. And so helping provide those interventions when needed based upon when we give our FastBridge testing results, this will be another tool that they can use to help provide those interventions for them. And then really they just said, it kind of just checks all the boxes. When we took a look at our state assessment results and our ACT results, we noticed that some areas we were lower in were grammar, and this has a really good grammar component. So then all 9th through 12th teachers would be able to utilize this. But I've asked Mrs. Piper and Mr. Stuckey to come along if they could, just to see if did I miss anything? Anything else that you would like to add?
I think that you kind of covered everything that I was most concerned about. You know,
You can come up here if you want.
Yeah, you guys can come.
Sorry, Mr. Stuckey.
that's all right. Jesse, you want to come up?
Yeah.
It really checked a lot of boxes for us. You know, at the beginning of this school year, I was looking at our textbooks and I saw somebody's name and it said 1993 next to it. I was like, wait, how old are these books? And I realized they were published in 1992. And so then I went to Gantenbein and I said, hey, since you've been here, have you guys ever tried to get a new textbook series? And he said that we hadn't. So he and I and Jessica got together and we're like, we really need to, I don't know how we're gonna twist Jenkins's arm to get new textbooks, but let's try. And then Jenkins was immediately on board, and I think that we felt like the dog that caught the car a little bit. So then we started looking at different textbook series to see what was available and what sort of things was offered. The first one that I looked at was from HRW, and their textbook was okay. It wasn't a lot different, honestly, than what we already have. So it wasn't going to be a big step up there. The digital component there looked like it was made in the early 2000s, which is a step up, but it's not a very good one. And then we also looked at My Perspectives. And again, it just wasn't quite as modernized as what StudySync is. So after looking at them, I think that we were all very unanimous that StudySync was really the way to go. And I'm also a forensics coach, and you know, all of us or most of us forensics coaches are also English teachers. So I, am in a room every week with a bunch of English teachers. And so I brought it up to them. I was like, hey, what textbook series are you guys using? And of the 3 coaches that had new series in the last couple of years, one of them had HRW, one of them had My Perspectives, and one of them had StudySync. And the 2 that didn't have StudySync were jealous of the one who did, because they looked at all of them and they came to the same conclusion that StudySync is the best candidate here. So I think that, like I said, it's checking a lot of boxes for us. It's really going to help us to make things more even across the board, so that we're doing something similar. We're teaching the same ways every year, instead of me teaching the Stuckey way and then her teaching the Piper way and Andrew teaching the Gantenbein way. If we can make things a little bit more uniform, it's going to make it a lot easier for kids to unpack those boxes every year in their new classroom.
And I think one thing that I really saw that I really liked was that the gradebook in StudySync is really, really nice. It allows for like the reteaching of skills. Like if a student doesn't get it the first time, it'll highlight that particular student in a certain color. So it uses kind of like a stoplight system, green, yellow, and red, to identify whether or not students actually got that skill that we were trying to teach them. And so if that student is flagged as red, they probably really didn't get that material, and then it provides ways to then reteach that material in a new way to make it to where they will understand and get that skill a little bit better, hopefully the next time around.
Awesome.
So it kind of allows for that reteaching of material very easily.
This is great. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for your
Does this
diligence.
filter down into middle school at all, or have the potential to filter down into middle school?
We just got our new curriculum last year, Amplify, so we're on the first year of
Are they
6-year cycle.
cohesive?
So unfortunately, Amplify does not go, that was the first one I looked into, because I knew that my daughter's in 6th grade and I saw her new textbook and I was like, jealous. So that's actually part of what's for this whole thing going forward. Unfortunately, Amplify only goes to 8th grade. And so then the StudySync system does go down, I think, to 6th grade. So, I mean, not that,
Assuming the cycle goes well and.
right, assuming that things go well, not that middle school would want to jump onto that same thing, but there would be potential for that.
Probably not for 5 more years.
Right, right.
My point is that 8th graders moving to 9th grade, it's not gonna be completely brand new and different. I mean, they're, from what they're getting in middle school, will transition them to high school well enough to, you know.
I would think that the shock of going from modern stuff to something written in the 1990s would be more significant than going to something that's produced that's about the same, even if it's not from the same company.
Yeah.
I think that it's gonna be a lot more equitable there.
Good deal.
It's awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Stuckey. Thank you.
Thank you
Ms.
both.
Piper. Yeah.
All right.
So I think we gave you the quote. Did you guys get that as well? Okay.
Yep.
And it would be for 6 years. And then our question was, because at first we were like, well, can we just purchase the digital or the online? Unfortunately, you can't. You have to purchase for 6 years. And then after the 6 years, then you can purchase the online portion.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at first when I pulled up the quote, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know what to expect. But then if I think about this is across 6 years, and then also if I
Yes.
compare it to the money we spend on maybe other types of activities, it's a steal in my mind.
And then it's been 30 years since we've updated it, so you divide it by 30, you're pretty.
Yeah, it'll be good for another 30 years.
Yeah. All right, so I move that we adopt the new ELA, high school ELA curriculum as presented.
Second.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Clinton.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Bellinger.
I,
Williams.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
All right, high school dance team request.
Ms. Camarima reached out to me earlier in the year, and then I'm not sure how this has had gone in the past, so I asked her to come visit with you guys to make this request and kind of give me some direction too as we move forward with this. So, but I'll turn it over to her for.
Kimba McCartney's here with me as well. We have the pleasure of working with the dance and the cheer teams. I think our high school dance and cheer teams are pretty great. They add a lot to the games. A lot of you are really good supporters of those teams, so I appreciate that. But one of our challenges is coming up with enough funds to take our teams to camp during the summer. And so we go to an NDA, National Dance Association, NCA.
UC, but.
United Cheer, okay. But these are professional organizations with trained dancers, cheerleaders, and they work closely with education and schools. So I know after our dance season ended, we were sitting in the weight room where we practice, eating cheesecake, because that's what you do. And we talked about the pros and cons and the highlights and challenges and all, they talk about camp all the time. You know, if you've had kids that have gone to camp, 4-H camp, whatever, it's fun. You get to go stay in a hotel, you get to order Domino's and be around new kids and meet new people. So, but we have been fundraising on our own to do that. And we both run like a clinic for the little kids in the community, which is always a big night at football and basketball games. It's a lot of fun. We work together to run baseball and softball concessions in the spring. And the dance team does breakfast burritos, cheerleaders help with a fireworks stand. If that's not enough, we throw something else in. So the cost per camper, per student is $348 a piece. So if you have a squad of 9 to 11 students, that gets pretty expensive. And I know everything is on the rise and expensive right now anyway, so we hate to ask the families for too much because they are helping purchase uniforms and shoes and those types of things. So I guess we're here to ask if the board would consider helping pay for camp. I'm totally fine with continuing the fundraisers that we do. It's those like desperation ones at the end where you're spending a lot of time in the summer trying to finish paying off camp. I just feel like camp is really important. We learn technique, new skills, they learn stunting. I have kids on the dance team that have never danced before, so that summer camp is like their first dance class, and it just really helps the teams bond and get ready for the year. I know in the past, the board has helped send like our yearbook students to journalism camp. My own kids have benefited from that as, like, when they're on yearbook staff, and that's awesome. So I'm hoping we can do something similar, to help cheer and dance out, since they do support the school and the community in the same way that the journalism kids do by producing the yearbooks.
Okay, quick question for you.
Yes.
For uniforms, do you guys fundraise for that too?
So I know we're a little different, but dance, they buy their own pants and shoes and things that they can use repeatedly every year.
Yeah.
And then the school provides the uniform tops.
I don't know, they paid for theirs this past year,
The
I was-
students or
the students.
Okay.
I was told by Mr. Heward that they're on a rotation. I don't know what the yearage is on the rotation. So if they want like a new one each year until it's their rotation, whenever that might be.
So it's similar to the
they
other athletics,
fundraise for
okay.
their
That
own.
is, yeah, we're on that, for the uniform top, we're on the
Yeah.
rotation.
So dance and cheer at least are part of that rotation, okay.
And I'm not sure when their last rotation was,
Yeah.
or, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're at.
Okay, I was just curious, thank you.
So is your ask for about like $4,000? Is that what you're asking for?
Well, I'm open-ended asking, I guess, but I think it's fine for us to fundraise. It's fine for us to run that concession stand for baseball and softball, it's gotta get done anyway. The dance clinics, the community loves, so I don't know that,
What
I'm
percent are you asking us for? Well, I want a number, half.
half would be awesome, half would be amazing. That would take a lot of pressure off the kids who are already involved in a lot of things,
You're saying half off the price of the camp per
correct, yeah.
So your 11 of them is 38.28 at $348 apiece.
And which we're doing our dance tryouts this week. I did have 20 kids show up last night, so I thought that was pretty awesome. And I know she's got 17 or 18 signed up to try out for cheer, so there's a lot of interest, which is cool. I'm not gonna take 20 kids because we don't have that, but I'm just saying there is a lot of interest in the programs, which
How
feels
many do you
good.
take?
Our max is usually 11, and I don't know if this is a legitimate reason, but we have 11 uniform tops, so that's our max. That's what I was told.
I have some they will be senior cheerleaders right now, one's actually, she'll be a junior, working on a PowerPoint presentation to present to Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Hessong and Mr. Bellinger and whoever else it needs to be presented to. They would like to increase their numbers, for one, because there is so much more interest. And with me, for example, if, say my 7, that I have 2 that'll graduate this year, my 7, if they were to all make it, which I think they have the potential to, that leaves only 2. And I've got there's 4 or 5 girls from middle school that cheered this year, and I have a really soft heart. And I hate to tell people no, not that I wanna take all 17, but I have coached cheer at other schools in the past, 16 years previous to the 2 that this is my first one here. And I've always had way more than 9. I know 9 right now is a matter of transportation issue, but in our presentation, we have 2 options that have alleviated the transportation issue, so, I mean, that's to come, I guess. I'm trying to get that set up right now, but,
There are plenty of schools that have many more.
right, well, and it's
than not.
yeah.
And sometimes it's like, wow, why do we only have?
Rossville, I think, has 18 or 20, but, my cheer, Landon, I think it was, asked at one of the games when we were at Rossville, what do you guys do? And they said that they only take half of the cheerleaders to the away games.
But at
Which
home.
our PowerPoint presentation has a couple of options, but, anyway, so I'm hoping to have more than 9, but
So are there separate camps for cheer and dance?
Yes.
So each of you one of you takes 9 and the other takes 11, so in reality, we're taking 20 kids?
Correct.
Okay.
One question I asked Kathy was, do we participate in KSHA activity events, competitions? And we haven't in the past, is that correct?
Not the competition, we did represent Osage City at state basketball last year and dance there, but we have not participated in the game day competition yet. So that is on at my parent meeting last night, I said we're gonna try to do that this November, so that'll be new for us.
That's what my cheer is wanting to, that was one of my stipulations when I took cheer. I said I won't compete and I won't drive a bus and I won't, but I will consider it. It's a lot different in Oklahoma. I did compete for a few years in Oklahoma and one year we actually tied for third at state. So I kinda know what I'm doing, but
Well, and I think
I'm also old and tired. I don't wanna put the time in.
I'm just putting this out there because I don't know, I feel like, so this, for me, social media is a big deal with students, which is like good and bad. But the good thing is that a lot of these high school students see that there's other schools the same size as we are who have these big cheerleading teams, who have these, you know, like Council Grove, I think, has a very large dance team. I don't know all their behind the scenes stipulations, but that's just what I know what the students are seeing. And so when we're around these other area schools, you know, sometimes I feel like the cheerleaders and the dancers are like, why can't our teams be a little bit bigger? You know, we can allow 40 kids to play basketball. And I love basketball, but you know, we cut it off. They're the only two sports that kids have to try out for. So I don't know, it might lead to other different conversations, but it's just thought processes.
One of my concerns is we open this ball wax. I mean, you have every other team that would like to go to camps. Are we gonna start paying for football camps, basketball camps? I mean, cross country. I mean, I know there's camps, and I'm not cutting you guys down, but just looking as a whole, we're gonna open up a ball of wax for every other sport to come in to.
And club.
And clubs to go to more camps, go to, you know, and that's my opinion on it. I think we're gonna.
That is the tough part of it.
For me, the
FBLA.
The difference maybe is I get the dance team once a week. Those sports get their kids 5 times a week. And so they can train every single day. And I understand that dancing at halftime is not the same as playing a football game. I'm not saying that. But we don't have time to train our kids in the same way that other coaches.
And that a camp would provide.
To train their kids. So that camp becomes really important because we learn a lot of routines that we can use throughout the year and things like that. So I guess maybe to me, that's the difference. And a basketball player doesn't pay for their uniform. They don't pay for all these other things that our kids are fundraising for too. So maybe it would be another way that we could help support them financially, because the other sports, I mean, I know you buy your kids shoes and things like that, but they don't have to pay for their practice gear and their uniforms. So maybe this could be a way we could help Cherry Dance financially.
How do other schools pay for camps and whatnot? Have you talked to other cheerleading sponsors and dance sponsors?
I know a lot of schools have their families pay for things out of pocket. I don't know,
It's a variety from what I've, some, you know, the board will help with some of that cost, and some it's all on the, you know, this is your expectation if you're gonna be a dancer or a cheerleader, you'll have to pay for all of that, you know.
And we've made it work. We're gonna go to camp. Like, it's important. We're going.
Yeah.
And we'll make it work if we need to.
So with high school, say we do that, the middle school does a cheer camp as well. So would they be included in this as well? You can't, I can't justify paying for a high school cheer camp.
I mean, that makes sense to me. Sure, throw them in too. I don't know. I don't know that their camp is as extensive. I don't know what middle school cheer camp, if they travel or spend the night anywhere.
They went with the high school last year.
Yeah, so it probably is not as costly as these
we did
camps, so.
the high school, are you talking about spirits?
Yeah.
Like where they go for the 1 day thing?
Whatever it was, yeah.
What we're talking about is like, well, actually cheer, last year we had a home camp because of cost. It's cheaper to have a home camp, but it's just not the same experience as far as staying with other schools and meeting new people and working with other schools. But we did one here and it was in the gym and it was like 3 days long and it's like a full on day. And then on the last day, they're able to try out for like All-Star, and if they make it, it qualifies them for a trip. Like for cheerleading, it's a trip to London, which none of them took it. I had 5 out of 9 make it, None of them are going, because several of them are going on our trip to Europe that we're leaving for in almost 5 days. But it's a full 3 days of just nonstop learning, or if we go to overnight, obviously 3 days of overnight.
I think the hard part of this is, I can recall a number of times like FBLA, they were going to nationals and, you know, the band with their trips and what have you. Everybody has had to take that responsibility once you left, you know, past the state level. You had to do that or anything outside. You know, we didn't pay for that too, just because we can't afford it.
Well, the camps are in this state though,
Yeah.
aren't they?
You know.
Yeah.
If we were looking at doing some type of financial aid, I would rather see it put toward uniforms like many of our other sports do, and look at that piece more so than, you know, the camp, because we've had to draw that line. Once it leaves the, you know, state sanctioned activities, we haven't paid for it in the past, so I'd be interested to see what your proposal comes up with and what you look at there, what you're thinking about as much as anything.
I get the concept of you open the can of worms or ball of wax, whatever you want to call it, but we do in effect provide a camp for our football players and basketball players, in that we pay for a weightlifting program every summer that those guys are able to go to get physically fit and ready for the sports they're playing. So we already do that to an extent.
What camps do we pay for basketball and football?
I'm saying we have a weight room that we pay for every summer so that those kids can go in and train and get ready for those sports. That isn't part of their program. So we're already doing something like that in essence. May not be the exact same thing, but, and I understand there is, you have to draw a line somewhere. But we're talking about, you know, $3,500. We signed a contract where we pay half of $15,000 a year to paint the grass, and we're sitting here talking about $3,500 for supporting our kids.
I'm just saying, so next month we have basketball comes in, they wanna go to a basketball camp. You have football, they wanna go to a football camp. You're gonna, I mean, we're gonna have to deal with that issue. I mean, I'm all for paying for uniforms. I mean, baseball gets uniforms paid for, but we're still doing a fundraiser. I mean, for the baseball team, there's a fundraiser for the football team.
There's fundraisers for every.
I mean, we're doing fundraisers. Parents are paying for, I mean, that, I'm all for paying for uniforms for dance and cheer and getting more, but I don't agree with paying for a camp.
I just need more time to think about it, and that's.
Well, I'd like to see your proposal that you worked on too.
Well, that proposal's different. That's to have more,
That's numbers, yeah.
that's numbers, that's to have more cheerleaders. Yeah, so I think that's a little different. I think my question, when we were going over the agenda at the end of last week, I think my questions that went in my head weren't about like whether or not we should do, you know, it was more about, I guess I as a board member don't understand really how the activity funds work in general.
It definitely.
So to me, I, as a board member, would rather try to understand more of how, you know, football has this work auction and they raise tons and tons and tons of money. And so their fund probably is a lot bigger than, you know, I've never raised 1 penny for basketball as a parent, you know, but, you know, so how is all that, and I know a lot of it's attendance of the games but you also have to pay for the refs, but then you have to, I just don't know how it works.
You kind of think too about the community and the amount of support that they have behind each particular sport or athletic activity.
For sure.
That's a big difference too. I have talked a lot with Mr. Hessong this year about fundraising, and I feel like we need some type of policy put into place for next year, whatever that is. Because I kind of agree with you. You know, I feel like sometimes we're fundraising and we're fundraising and we're fundraising. I want to provide kids as many opportunities as we can. I mean, I think that, you know, we're all here, sitting here for that reason, is because we want to provide as many opportunities as we can. But realistically, sometimes we just don't have the funds, so how do we come up with those? Or realistically, sometimes we have to say no. I mean, so.
Yeah,
Let me ask this, have you talked to like the Jones Foundation or Conrad Carlson, you know, for scholarships for the girls that need that or want it, or?
I haven't. I mean, the last 2 years, we just did all of our fundraising, and then I guess with some new leadership and stuff, I thought, well, I'm gonna ask if we can get.
No, yeah, and I appreciate,
So
I am
we don't
appreciating the conversation.
To give that,
so
it's just
much,
the can of worms that it opens with it, I mean, there's.
That's
a way
my
to
concern,
justify
David,
it.
you know, bringing this to the table, you know, I would have a recommendation, but I believe we would be opening up situations such as Tyler's referring to, you know, the fact that they aren't competing, but they're looking to compete. Acacia would help me somewhat to be able to make a recommendation, but I think we open it up to every club and organization to be, hey, well, let's go ask the board, you know, and will you help them?
Love to support that and definitely.
Sure,
Yeah.
and we understand the burden that it puts on families too, yeah.
For sure, I think that's so right. So I think that was my first question was, I would appreciate a little bit more of an understanding of how each of the different funds work and how they're allocated and how, what we need to do, because I fully, you know, I want to support and help, but you know, what percentage of what they have to do is fundraising versus not. So, I mean, it's obviously, it sounds like a higher percentage of what they need to be able to perform, camp included, is more fundraising than maybe another activity, it appears. That would be my kind of overarching thoughts.
Well, and I think this is part of going along with what you're saying about understanding how the activity budget works, because just because I have an older daughter who got to go twice, but she went to yearbook camp twice, I never paid anything, the board covered it. Which it's great, I'm not saying, don't take that away, that's not what I'm saying, because the yearbook is super important to these
That's
kids and
academic
parents
phase
too.
too, compared to
So,
non-academic phase.
but you know, I just, what's the difference, you know, or like, can we have a little bit of a budget
So
to work with or something?
so part of what I would like to understand more, I know Mr. Bellinger's not here, but it would be in coordination, I'm assuming, with all of you guys. What is the actual cost of the cost of an activity? So the actual cost, because I'm in, you know, this I do for a living, corporate planning, so this is how I think. But what is the cost, either it's for the school or for the student? How much does it cost to be a cheerleader for the year? It costs this, and then so what percentage of that cost is a burden on the family and what percentage is the school taking care of? I'm just curious, so like, what does it cost for a high schooler to play boys basketball? Okay, they're spending, you know, as a parent, I'm buying $125 gym shoes, but other than that, what is my cost as a parent versus what the cost is for the school? I think that could maybe help us understand more in general. What, now, obviously, some programs cost a lot more. I know this could be opening a can of worms just to understand, but it is something that I've always been curious about, and this is kind of bringing some of that to light. It does sound like, I believe our dance program and cheer programs are extremely important for, you know, during the games, for the community, everything that they do. And so I think we all want to support what needs to happen to continue them to be great. But I do think we need some more information just to be able to kind of make a recommendation. Yes, Corey, I'm done.
Well, I mean, I think the feeling is that, to me, uniforms are, I would say, the bare minimum that we meaning the school, should provide those that are participating in the activity. If it's a school-based team, we should provide at least that minimum cost of the uniform.
And any safety-related item that goes to that,
exactly.
for that.
Because I look at our bills, and I'm assuming that we purchase golf polos for the golf team.
Not gold, golf.
Not gold, but golf polos.
Right.
So that in itself is a minimum. We're not purchasing the slacks and the shoes. That's the minimum that we're providing as a school. So to me, in turn, with the cheer and the dance, we should provide at least a minimum for uniform.
And
whatever
understanding that
cost is.
rotation and understanding the rotation,
And
how that works.
I get that, but to me, and even expanding upon the number of participants, you know, if there's 17 that try out, you know, why, we're not cutting anybody else from the basketball team or the golf team or the football team or anybody else. Why are we cutting from dance and from cheer or any other activity? So, you know, is it, you know, to me, if we get 20 kids, we got 20 kids. We figure out a rotation of how they perform or not perform and do that. But I mean, to me, that's how I feel as a board member and cost wise, is at least the uniform is the bare minimum we should look at least providing those two groups, so.
So do we think,
Sorry, another thought process just to add on that, not that I'm, you know, swaying one way or the other, but just in reality, sometimes it's really hard to find coaches and sponsors, you know? So, I mean, yes, I would love to be able to have all these high numbers. I mean, because probably there's tons of research out there that shows the more, when kids are involved, the better they do in school. But we also have to realize too that finding coaches and sponsors right now can be challenging as well.
We have 26 on baseball, 26 on softball. We've got 40 some track. I'm sure middle school track is going to be probably through the roof again. I think we need to at least make the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying keep that in mind, that finding coaches and sponsors.
But to me, the flip side of that is do we then cut baseball or softball because we only want to provide 2 coaches?
Right, I don't know, that's
You
a
know,
question that.
Or do we want to cut football because we don't want to provide 4 coaches? You know, or to me, there's also a flip side of that coin.
Sure.
So if it would work, I guess, that the board agrees that providing a uniform being not just a top, because you can't dance in just a top, pants, shoes, so top, pants, shoes, that would still relieve the burden on the family. So then if we do, hey, can you throw in at $50 for camp, doesn't feel so bad to me, because then I'm not also asking them to buy the rest of the uniform.
So I guess,
That could be
I think we're obviously not gonna make a decision tonight. But I think we need to just learn a lot or a little bit more, and thank you so much for coming to talk, because it has been something that I've wanted to review, but obviously, you know, COVID happened, so I haven't got to do anything. So, so maybe by next month's meeting, do you think would be able to, is that enough time?
I don't know if we can get it done next month.
Couple
but-
months? I mean, I don't know, I mean, they're gonna,
Should we probably invite Jimmy to
Oh, yeah,
help
yeah.
out with this
Oh, yeah.
conversation
Yeah, it'll
too?
be- I got
oh, for
notes,
sure, I mean,
Okay,
I don't know that we can get it ready by next month.
okay, just whenever you guys are ready.
Yeah.
When do you guys have to have?
When do you have to, yeah,
We have a deposit due at the end of April, which we made enough money off the dance clinic to pay that deposit, except I just had to go buy $750 worth of stuff to stock the softball and baseball concession stand. So, I don't know, that's a little, so the burden, not burden, but the financial burden is on our 2 organizations to stock that concession stand, which I understand we'll make it back. But, so that's my only, I have the money because off of the dance clinic we did with Parks and Rec, for the deposit, but then if we just bought all the stuff to stock concession stand, because those games start right after spring break. So, that might be a little hairy
so
until
maybe
we start making
yeah.
some profit, but.
So maybe the next, at least at the next board meeting, maybe Mrs. Jenkins can just kind of just give us an update. Touch in with her, make sure where we're at on that, but for sure, within the next couple months, I think it makes sense to kind of understand what's happening.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
And Kelly, in your board information, under petty cash and activity funds, you can see each fund, how much money they started with, where they are right now. So you can see those
Got it.
in that folder.
In the folder.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, middle school through high school.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Mr. Peterson, 3 Lakes update.
Yeah, let me find the right browser. So we've had a couple of meetings since we last met. We did get our financial audit done at Three Lakes, had a clean opinion. I provided Mr. Hessong a copy of the report from Three Lakes. A couple of other things just a few things I'll throw out. We did get, all of the schools have now signed the memorandums of understanding for the 50% thing on the pre-K and the reimbursement piece of that, so that's done for us. We did approve a contract to get 2 speech language pathologists through the Capper Foundation that will be in person through the Three Lakes program, and we're looking at that saving us hopefully somewhere around $20,000 to $30,000 a year overall. Right now, the cost of the contract speech language pathologist is unbelievably high. So we're trying to get that down to where we have no more than one and eventually get that gone. One of the things that they're kind of worried about and considering is that we have a couple of positions that are funded through the ESSER money, and so we've got to figure out how to get past that and how we'll absorb those, and we're looking into that. I was going to see if they gave us a breakdown of the number of IEPs by category, by exceptionality, which was kind of interesting. So autism, developmental delay, emotional disturbance, intellectual disability, learning disability, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, hearing impairment, blindness and visual impairment, deaf and blindness, speech language impairment, traumatic brain injury, and then how many of each student we have in each category through the Three Lakes, and then how we compare to the state. And learning disability was one that kind of stuck out, is that in our co-op, we have 211 kids identified with learning disabilities. Wow. And that's 29.4% of the kids we service. And statewide, that average is like 6.3%. So it's, and I think part of it is how we identify. So we're working on how we identify kids and make sure we get them into the right category for what they're doing. But right now we're servicing, or I think this was the December 1 count was 718 kids across the co-op, and that does not include gifted. So that's just our kids that need extra help. The only other thing was, and I didn't catch the bill name, but they were talking about getting, there is a bill to fully fund special ed and get the categorical aid correct, and that is a big deal for us. If that bill passes and gets through, it'll make a lot of difference in the amount of funding we have at Three Lakes that we then don't have to ask for from districts. So if you happen to talk to the representatives, we're interested in getting that through. So, and that was it. And I am going to try to get a little more structured in the information I'll bring you back from the meetings, budget and so on, so that we have a little more consistency in that.
Todd, on that speech path, what does that mean? So the 2 speech paths, does that mean we're getting rid of people then?
No, these are addition. We're bringing more in, but I think we're looking at getting to that contract that's a little lower price than I think the ones we're using are over 100,000, and these are in the $60,000 range or something. So just having them from working that deal with Capper will be beneficial on that. But we're not looking at we're not cutting numbers on speech path. We're looking to get more there.
But they would replace someone else that we already have.
I'm not sure that.
No, they would be these are ones we need to help manage the
Cover
case.
districts?
I think so.
Yeah, that's the way
I'm not positive on that, but.
That's the way I understood that, to help manage the
Yeah,
case.
there was absolutely no desire to have less speech path
Yeah.
than we have right now. we're tight as it is. And it's more getting away from, I think what they were talking about is they want to get away from the ones that are not in person. We want to get to more of the in-person and having somebody in the building rather than the tele.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's our goal. That's it.
All right, thanks. I know we have a concert in a few minutes, but is there anything you guys wanted to point out or have questions on the building reports?
The only question I think I had was for Mrs. Reed, and I'm trying to remember what you put in your report. Was it, she's officially nominated, is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay.
What happens is that we nominated her for our district elementary school as a representative as Teacher of the Year. March 26th, she goes to a banquet. I go with her, her husband and daughter are coming too. And we go to a banquet on March 26th at Townside Plaza in Topeka, where other regional nominees will be recognized. It's a big production. And then at that time, they basically pick like, I think, the regional winner. And then that regional winner goes among the other regional winners and then becomes the State of Kansas Teacher of the Year.
They choose from those regional winners to be the Kansas Teacher of the Year, so.
So exciting.
It is exciting. I mean, I'm very proud of Kathy and everything that she's done for our district, so I think it's a great time to recognize someone in our district for being a great teacher.
Good luck, Mrs. Reed.
Yes, good luck. She's hiding behind the column.
I see bricks. Books and bricks.
All right.
All right.
And the year is going fast.
Middle school won league quiz bowl yesterday, so.
That was awesome.
Back.
Yeah. All right, superintendent report.
Okay, just a few things. I give you the schedule for the district strategic planning hosted, or gonna be conducted by KSB and Britton Hart. We have that schedule out. The survey went out in Friday. I got that link fixed. I didn't have the document public, so I got that fixed last night, so. But getting feedback from that, I haven't seen anything from Britton on that, but we'll have that survey information to do that. So you have those dates, the March 20th. Not sure where we're gonna do that. Still, that's one of my things Patty's put me to do, so to figure out where we'll do that, but we'll do it somewhere in the building here to have that, and we'll provide a light meal and then go through that process to do that. The principals are inviting their site councils, and we'll look to invite some others as we go through that and open that up. I'll give a little presentation, kind of the state of the district, and then Britton will take it from there to kind of go through that process as we go through that. And we'll have a follow-up on the 27th to discuss some themes and things that came out of there, and then on the 19th, we'll look at that, review some goal focus areas, and go through that, so hopefully we can start really evaluating that plan and to go from there, so.
And do you need all board members? Because I think out of these 3 dates you sent, I can only make one.
Yeah, no, they'll have to be there, I mean, but it's, that information will be shared with you as we go through that. It was just hard to find, there's so many activities and everything going on, so I just kind of stuck with that as we go through that, but, don't necessarily have to. We won't take any action until we have a full board, though.
Okay.
But as we build that together, I mean, we'll share all the information that was provided.
I should know April 19th if we've got enough board members.
I think you were the only one
Okay.
from what I remember.
Okay.
Because I don't think, is it no baseball, maybe JV that first night, but I don't think we have baseball the other.
It's JV, yeah, baseball and softball on the 20th.
The 20th, that's what it was.
Yeah, it's just hard to find nights
Yeah.
during the spring, so, so we'll be working through that and working with Britton, excited about that to get that going, to provide some direction on that. So, other things, just, Wabunzi has requested to join the Flint Hills League. Right now, they're going through that process with the ADs and principals to make that request, that formal request. Next week, they're gonna present to the ADs, and then the superintendents will discuss that. We as a district will have to basically take action on that, whether we're gonna add them to the league, if that's the direction that we choose to do that.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's
Is that a pure majority vote by the league schools or?
Yeah, we'll have a designee, like Natasha would, it says principal or designee, it could be Jimmy that she designates to make that vote. But based on the information that we have and the feedback that we get, we will direct our designee to make that vote, but it'll be a majority vote. I think it is, Tim, right? Through the Constitution, it says.
And this is based on the Mideast and the Big Seven kind of
Yeah,
potentially merging and
right.
well, Muncie doesn't necessarily want to be involved with that.
I don't know those details, but I know they're part of that. They're in a league, but they're looking at their options to consider other leagues. And so they're reaching out to us to have that conversation.
We're essentially the closest. Well, maybe not technically the closest, but
Yeah.
maybe best fit, so.
So that's just kind of, that's where those conversations going, so we'll keep you updated on that. So, haven't received any information about our accreditation status from KSDE, so hopefully we're on the list for this month's board meeting to get approved, but have not received anything. And then just looking forward to spring break and the sprint to the finish is all I have for us.
Pretending it's not happening.
So,
Oh, I know. Okay, excellent. All right, I move we go into executive session to discuss supplemental positions, certified positions, and administrative contract extension pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under coma. The opening meeting will resume in the boardroom at 7:15 with the superintendent and principals present. Yeah, Tyler totally got that second.
He did.
He's been trying all night.
Bowen,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
We are going to extend same motion for 10 minutes, resuming at 7:25.
Second.
Do it really fast before she gets in.
Thank you.
Got it. All agree, say aye.
Aye.
Love it.
parenting it.
Oh, good job, that's all right.
So he's in my office on the tablet.
15, oh, that's fine. All right, we're back in open session, same motion will be resumed at 7:40. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Sorry,
Like,
wait for that.
You went all backward.
All right, we're back.
All right, we're back in open session. I move that we accept the resignation of Gilbert Gonzalez as the middle school girls basketball coach and the resignation of Maria Henderson as the high school science teacher. We accept the recommendation of Nicole Bailey as a first grade teacher with the, oh my gosh, sorry, I've written it down over here. On contingent on receiving her limited license by July 1st. The recommendation of Brenda Meyer from food service to evening custodian. The hiring of Tricia Atchison in food service. And hiring of Andrew Gantenbein as the middle school track assistant coach.
Is that for high school, middle school?
Middle school track?
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Williams,
Aye.
Bellinger, Parsons,
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Bellinger,
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Parsons,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye. Yeah, she just got it.